Now, obviously, the FDA made a mistake in granting the emergency use authorization and license of COVID-19 vaccines. It has been confirmed that the vaccines do not stop transmission. Moreover, 1,635,048 injuries due to COVID-19 vaccines have been reported to the Health and Human Services through the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, including 37,382 deaths. Considering that under 10,300 deaths have been reported due to all other vaccines combined, the harm due to COVID-19 vaccines is absolutely staggering. And not to mention that there is no accountability. Legally, it is impossible to sue COVID-19 vaccine manufacturers for the injuries caused by their products. Just last month, a federal court forced the FDA to retract tweets and statements for its years-long smear campaign against ivermectin as an effective treatment for COVID-19. It seems that the goal of Big Pharma is to get people hooked on for life on their products, whether it be an annual flu or COVID-19 vaccines, perpetual statins or lower cholesterol, beta blockers for high blood pressure, expensive never-ending cancer treatments. Yet all this intervention doesn't seem to yield much fruit.
I'm going to follow up on this because this exchange to me was extremely illuminating, because what we have here is the commissioner who's the head of the Food and Drug Administration, and then we get a drive-by spray of propaganda, disinformation, and ideological attacks. So let me try to sort some of this out, and maybe we'll help to illuminate why we have a Food and Drug Administration rather than leaving it to politicians in state legislatures or in Congress to make decisions based on ideological whim. But let's start with ivermectin, which I believe is an animal deworming agent that some people were advocating for use to treat COVID-19. Has this been approved as a form of treatment or a cure for COVID-19?
No, it has not, if I may. I should also point out it also has benefit for humans with worms, which is a huge problem in Asia. So it actually won a Nobel Prize because it's an amazing drug both for animals and humans who have worms. And there was a good reason to think it may work in the case of COVID, and that's why, thankfully, the community, including the NIH, did a number of randomized clinical trials. There's just no benefit, and you know, that's true of most things that we try. There's nothing wrong with thinking it might work. It just didn't.
Well, what about hydroxychloroquine, which was another thing that was advocated?
Basically the same story. There was really exciting preliminary work in the laboratory that said hydroxychloroquine may have activity against COVID, so the randomized trials were done. Unfortunately, no benefit. Again, nothing wrong with thinking it may work and trying it out in a randomized trial, but then we have the data now, so that leads you to the conclusion. So we have not been able to grant an indication for those.
So that was pretty cut and dried, but since when have Republicans like Paul Gosar ever let the truth get in the way of a good grift?
Well, I like the fact that you said it was an opportunity, because I want to go back to those videotapes. A picture's worth 1,000 words, is it? Is
Correct. Yes.
They're all going to come after us regardless.
Yes, sir.
So it seems to me like we ought to be making this big push and maybe turn the tide. And for example, how about a bounty? Make everybody deputies and look in those tapes as to people that are undercover. Antifa.
The pipe bomber.
In the days before Donald Trump, Paul Gosar would have been quickly identified as a far-right white nationalist conspiracy nut with fringe, dangerous beliefs who gives off grade A creep vibes that you wouldn't leave your child around for 15 seconds. Unfortunately, in the current MAGA climate, he fits right in.
Actually, I'm a huge fan of everything you've done for election integrity and everything, and just especially protecting our southern border right now. My family's ranch is down in Yuma, and we have illegals on our land a lot. And we've shot at them, and our Second Amendment rights to stand our ground. I'm worried that the Democrats are going to send me to jail, if I hit one of them, right?
They have more rights than we do.
Yeah, it's like I can't shoot at them when, as they cross the border and stuff. I mean, I think I might have hit someone. And I was distressed about it for a week. Yeah. And so I just thank you for everything you're
certainly
doing.
welcome. You're certainly
Being
welcome.
off there and everything.
Well,
and for election integrity.
Say a prayer, because this country needs it. But there's a bunch of people that are ready to go into action.
That interaction was a test of decency and humanity, and so obviously Gosar utterly failed, because he's a monster. But lest you think it's maybe like an act, I'll remind you that Gosar's own family kept trying to warn us about how dangerous he actually is.
Paul Gosar, the congressman, isn't doing anything to help rural America.
Paul's absolutely not working for his district.
If they care about health care, they care about their children's health care, they would hold him to account. If they care about jobs, they would hold him to account.
If he actually cared about people in rural Arizona, I bet he'd be fighting for Social Security, for better access to health care. I bet he would be researching what is the most insightful water policy to help the environment of Arizona sustain itself and be successful.
And he's not listening to you, and he doesn't have your interests at heart. My name is Tim Gosar.
David Gosar.
Grace Gosar.
Joan Gosar.
Gaston Gosar.
Jennifer Gosar.
Paul Gosar is my brother.
My brother.
And I endorse Dr. Brill.
Dr. Brill wholeheartedly endorse Dr. David Brill.
Paul Gosar was first elected back in 2010 while still practicing dentistry. And just stop for a second to imagine that ghoul having open access to your unguarded mouth. Anyway, there are a lot of problems with this creep, from the ideological to the practical. So he claims to believe that the Constitution is the cornerstone of our republic, which seems like a bold statement for a man who has made election denial utterly core to his political identity. He also rails against government spending, as so many on the right do, despite in his case spending more taxpayer money on travel than literally anybody else in the House. Between 2016 and 2022, Gosar spent almost $1 million traveling to Florida and Colorado and Texas and even Europe. He took credit for COVID funds that he voted against and continues to deny his ties to white nationalism, despite the fact that he has hired 2 staffers with ties to Nick Fuentes. 2 of them. Also, I'll remind you, he's the troglodyte who posted that anime video of him literally murdering Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And when he was asked how race relations could be improved in Arizona, he said we should just stop using the word racism, and that people need to think about what it really means to call someone a racist. Yeah. The problem with racism has always been that people don't respect the feelings of the racist enough. But I think he's being honest there, because people like Gosar hate being called out. And that's why Democrats like Jamie Raskin, who are willing to fight back against their BS publicly, are so utterly vital. Hopefully we'll see more of that, but for now, I don't have a good answer. Our political system in 2024 is just sick. It's as obviously diseased as the mind of Paul Gosar himself. This is a creepy little hateful weirdo that you wouldn't be comfortable sharing an elevator with, and yet unfortunately many people voted to give him political power. He doesn't even hide how awful he is. He delights in it. But not even the warnings of the people who've known him best and longest was enough to stop him from entering the House, in no small part thanks to how solidly red his district is and is likely to remain. So there might not be any getting rid of him in the short term, which means that the answer has to be stopping him from gaining any more power by putting him in the minority in the House, as well as destroying his toxic propaganda whenever it rears its ugly head. Or whenever he does. Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.